Making $2,000 trading ETH to the downside. Actually, $2,053.31 to be exact. Let's get into the recap. This was taken on two accounts. One account was a $25,000. I think it's like 26 and change. I have it in there now. That's what that account has. And this one was on a $200,000 account. So not perfect in terms of the exact sizing of my risk on both. The trade copier is still not working, so I had to actually enter these manually. So I got maybe a slightly different fill on both of them, and also I wanted to size smaller on the larger account by just a touch. Well, maybe not really. I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable, to be honest with you, with risking more than what I did on this trade. I risked about $1,000 on the $200,000 account to make about nearly 1,800. So, what does that call that? Like a 1.8 to 1, risk reward, something along those lines. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's better than what I usually target at a minimum of 1.5. But really, this is just on an ETH short. I kind of feel like less FOMO now, somewhat to a degree, because I kind of played some of the downside. I just haven't been seeing too many opportunities that fit my style very well, because so much of these moves on the overall markets have been occurring during the overnights and these gap downs, which I'll talk about here in this video really quick. But I won't make it too long because I got a hard stop in about 5 minutes. I have something to sign up for that opens literally in 5 minutes. But essentially, here's the ETH trade. I was eyeing this up last week, and I was pretty surprised how it had held up pretty well despite the overall market plummeting. You'd think that the Bitcoin or Ethereum crypto would just kind of follow suit to a degree. I guess tariffs don't really apply necessarily as bad. I don't know, whatever. But they held up. But I had an alert here, and so Sunday night I was actually watching the women's basketball championship. The alert goes off, I think, earlier in the day. I'm pretty sure. But it filled and hit my target during the game. So we end up essentially, getting in on the break pretty tight. I got in right around where that line is. I can tell you the exact entry price or the exact order or the fill was at 1728.18, and this line here is 1733. So I actually got in a touch lower than where that's marked, but like by a couple dollars. And then it just kind of shot right to the target, within that same day. So pretty impressive move. It did actually undercut by a touch, well, more than a touch. It did actually get down about another $100 lower than my target. Now it's bouncing back. I don't really care what happens next. Just really looking for that downside move. And the good thing, the reason why this one, in my view, worked is because I was able to trade this one with more confidence during kind of like the overnight session that you would not be able to really. Well, I could trade, I guess, the NASDAQ, S&P after 6 p.m. Eastern, but not something I commonly do. So I traded this one as it was breaking down. Futures opened up a couple hours after I got into this trade. I was a little bit cautious about that, so I moved my stop loss. It quickly moved in my direction, so I moved my stop loss pretty quickly once we got into this zone, back to break even. So I really had no risk on the trade, and then it eventually just kind of hit the target, and that was it on those two different accounts. So pretty straightforward stuff. But like I was saying, back to the overall markets, again, it's the same story here, right? Different day. If you go to, let's say, a 1 hour chart, well, I guess a 5 minutes probably going to be cleaner to see this. You go to a 5 minute chart, and a lot of this move, this overnight move down is happening. I mean, overnight, like it's happening, like the move down is happening overnight. And so like we closed up here and we end up opening up down here. Like these are all moves overnight. So the largest part of the moves are really occurring overnight, it seems like. And so I have not been really getting setups. A, there's lower volume. B, and I just, I'm kind of cautiously, it's not my game. I'm not going to forcibly try to get into some of this stuff. So we'll see what happens, dude. Honestly, you can say I'm expecting a bottom. Everyone's expecting a bounce at some point. The bounce could be aggressive. Who knows? I have no interest in trying to call bottom, top, this, that, how big the bounce will be, this squeeze. I don't give a shit. It's really irrelevant. I don't think there will be many trades that I'll be taking in this zone, even if we go lower. I just don't know if I'm going to take many trades. Maybe there'll be some day trade opportunities potentially on high momentum, maybe. But to be honest, dude, like that's just not my game. So the Ethereum play was my game. So I might be looking elsewhere for finding setups, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's kind of crazy. It is, impressive. So we'll see what happens here with the overall market. I have no idea what's going to happen, to be honest with you. And it's a cool place to be. It's as crazy as it sounds. These numbers, by the way, are going to be kind of off because the first couple trades of the month, I only traded on the $200,000 account. Now I add in this trade on a $25,000 account. Technically wasn't part of the copier, but I entered it manually on the other account. So it throws off my average size. It makes my average winner look way smaller than what it compared to my average loser. But that'll even out over time. Just give me some time to get that, ironed out and straightened out. So not a huge deal there, but the stats are going to be a little bit off based off of that. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's the recap. Hope that was helpful. I'll leave a link to TradeZilla below if you're looking for a place to track and journal your trades. Code TC10 saves you 10%. And I'm happy to get a win in the win column. Wasn't a huge win, and it was smaller size than, I would normally trade, but I felt like that was appropriate given the situation. Who knows? Anybody can come out and get on in front of a podium, pull up a chart now, and everything fucking implodes. And now maybe the next thing is you turn the chart upside down, and holy shit, now who knows? Just there's no reason to be super aggressive, I think, in this time for me. Just how my strategy works and how I feel about things, and that's where we're at. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.